It's Twisted Black, and this is Hustle Town Certified, the best that ever did it.
Hey, it's your girl, Jeanz of the Hustle Vida podcast, also Hustle Town Network, Hustle Town Certified. And we are here with, I'm actually very, very excited to talk to this guy because he's been doing music for a very long time. Out of Funky Town, out of Fort Worth, Texas, we have Twisted Black in the building. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. So you've worked a lot. You're from Fort Worth, but you've had a lot of ties here in Houston. You frequent the city a lot, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm just starting back. Like I said, I've been gone quite some time. So prior to me leaving, I used to live out here, so I got a couple roots out here.
Gotcha. So now you talked about being gone for a little bit, yeah. And I really want to tap into that story because I feel it's an inspiration. You've been through a lot of things. There's a lot of things that you had to overcome, not just musically, but just, in life general, right? There's a lot of things, obstacles and things that you've had to overcome. And I think that those are the things that I think a lot of different artists need to hear and know to keep them going, to keep them inspired, because we're all going to run into different types of trials. So let's take it back to when you first started dabbling in music. How long and when did you decide that rap game was going to be something that you were going to dive into?
I probably started, I put my first project out in '95. It's a long time ago. So, then I was in Houston back with Club Boomerang and all of that, out there with South Park Mexican and what was his name? Mean Joe Green.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Back then, yeah.
All right.
And so I had a song with Bun and Pimp and forged a relationship with them and a few others.
And what was that like out here in '95? And we're talking about this is a time of there's not, the web, there's not like the streaming services. So what was that like out here hustling, getting that done?
It was hustle. Yeah, that's when you had to get out there. Wherever you went, that was really where your work was. You couldn't just push your button and shoot the work to Ohio. You had to get in there, in that Suburban, that car, that truck, go out there and make it happen. You had to network for real. And really, I'm doing that now, even with the internet. I'm incorporating the internet. But back then, but we had like a coalition. It was just, a certain camaraderie we all had.
Right. And so all them boys was out here working the same way? Is that okay?
Yeah, them guys, those guys that are, around my era that's still eating right now, they did the groundwork. Flip and Hump and Slim and Zero, and Trey, they did the groundwork. And that's why they're still able to make a substantial living right now.
Right. That
doesn't go away.
So was that, you already knew that was like the purpose, that's what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I just love music, any kind of music, jazz, whatever genre. I just love music, and I was kind of gifted with with rhyming, so it only made sense.
So you dropped your very first project in '95. Right. You kept the momentum going. How long did that go before there became a significant pause in your music?
I left. I ended up going to prison in 2006, right? And I was the most sought after artist in this area, in our area, So I ended up with a deal with TBT. I was over there with Yo Gotti, Yin Yang, 9 Inch Nails, to name a few.
Wow.
But I ended up going to prison in 2006, and so I stayed 17 years, and I've only been home a year. So the whole time I was gone, I put out projects through the phone and cell phones and stuff like that. So yeah.
So what was that like? Like you had your whole team still down to help you. How difficult was that to get those projects done, or was it difficult at all?
Oh yeah, it was difficult. But not, I didn't burn bridges. You know what I mean? So I had a few people that I could rely on that still would help get the music out. And then my son-in-law was real hands-on, making sure that the splits were done and uploading music. And then DJ Wild here, and then there was Jeff at Session Works. He was the engineer. They made sure that did some of my street guys.
Right.
They funded. So I tried to stay as relevant as possible, being gone.
And I would imagine that kind of helped with your headspace while you're in there doing the time, is still relying on the music, being able to write, being able to still produce things. What was that like being in there and just, I guess I want to get into your headspace on what that was like when you were
What's your name?
Jessica.
Jessica, that's the first time anybody ever asked that question. And that's a good question. And to answer your question, the music, being able to know that my music was going to be heard again was something to make me fight and stay resilient. It gave me a purpose in prison. You know, and a lot of guys that go to prison, you know, they lose their purpose, and that's how they end up letting the time do them. You know, so I continue to fight and push and wait for this day, you know, to get home. And so that's a very good question, man.
Yeah, because it's almost like designed to break you. It's designed to break you mentally. And, you know, like I said, there's a lot of people that listen to or watch this platform that are living that or still going through that or just getting out or felt like they lost their purpose. What would you say to somebody who felt that they lost their purpose, whether they're locked up or just with everyday life?
Yeah, well, I would say that, you know, sometimes what we think our purpose is not, and sometimes it changes, you know. And so when you find your purpose, one thing about, you know, I don't get into religion or debate stuff like that, but when your higher power or whatever, whomever you serve, lets you know what your purpose is, you'll know. And all I can say to them is just embrace it and push, because, you know, that's what you're supposed to be doing. And if it's music and you're 60, then that's what you're supposed to be doing. You know, if you're 70 and it's ballet, that's what you're supposed to be doing, because it might not be for you. Your purpose may not be for you. A lot of people have to realize that it may be for someone else.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I did hear a story of a team. It was a group of guys. They all went in there wanting to rap, but it turned out one of the guys was better at the videography and picked up a camera, and now that's where the music led him.
Yeah.
So you may not always be the front guy.
Yeah, hey, and that's okay. You know, I'm dealing with that right now. I'm the front guy right now in this room, but I have 3 different artists that I'm pushing, and if they jump out there ahead of me, cool. I just try to give them everything that I got to give them a head start, you know, which is alliances, because you're only as strong as your alliances.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's another thing people have to realize. You know, a lot of people want to be the front guy, but if me and you are both going to Atlanta, Jessica, and I got an air-conditioned vent and I can control that vent and everything, I'm still going to Atlanta. You can drive, but I'm still there with you.
Right.
That's just the way I look at it.
So let's talk about the artists that you're pushing.
Okay.
So at this point in time, you're like, hey, you know what? I've learned, you know, all this through the years. I've worked with some really, really great artists over the years. I've seen a lot of legends. I've worked side by side. I've put in a lot of work, and now you wanted to help develop other artists. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, exactly. You know, try to not only showcase them, but pour into them, into, you know, to what they already do. You know, music-wise, developing the way you put it. You know, I'm working with Gunna Meezy out of Dallas, very talented young man. I'm working with a young lady, Pooh the Great, very talented, and another young man named OG Braylon. And each one of them has a unique set of skills. They all rap, but it's just so different, you know what I mean? And if I can just give them some tidbits of what I know, because I've been in the game, a long time, and elevate them to, you know, whoever get in that door, let's just go.
Mm-hmm. How do you know when somebody's got that something to make you want to go ahead and pour your energy into somebody?
It's you know what, I'm real selective about that, and it's not that I'm being a butthole or nothing like that. It's just that you have to be special for me. If I think you're special, if I get goosebumps and my little hairs on my arms stand up, then, and you got something like that, then I'll bring you, you know, I'll try to give you what I got, because I know that it's only gonna make it better. Some people, everybody don't seem special to me. Some people, but that's not to say they can't have a career. Mm-hmm. They can blow, you know what I mean, and be very, very good. But if you're special, that's what makes me want to deal with you.
Gotcha. So do you have, I mean, are these artists that are signed with you? Do you have your own label they're signed with you, or they're just artists that you're looking out for?
Yeah, no. No, they're signed with me under Scar for Life. and I have a management company, Hustler Go Broke Management. So I have two of them under my management company, and one of them, Gunna Meezy, actually up under my record label. The other two, the reason I didn't sign them under my record label is because when you're doing it on a independent budget, you want to give them as much as you can. You know what I mean? You want to push them, you don't want to hinder them. So if I push them to a level and say a 300 or a United Masters wants to give them a deal, I want them to be able to take it. You know what I mean? But I'll make sure that I have them up to par, up to specs, to where somebody wants to come in and say, hey, I'll take it from here.
All right. And let's talk about budget. How expensive is it to rap?
Real expensive. It don't cost you nothing to rap.
Right.
It just the money costs trying to be a rapper. You know, because the number one thing that people don't see is if you're trying to be a rapper, then you really don't have another job, usually. But you need one because, you know, there's nowhere to write on your light bill, I'm finna be a rapper. Yeah, I never see that part, but you know what I mean? So and then to, you know, for the exposure, for the interviews and just different things, not that you have to pay for everything, but you pay for a lot, and you always pay. You're always paying because you're constantly trying to hoist these people in front of people, and that unfortunately that you have to pay. That's just why when we watch the football game, we have to stop for a minute for the Bud Light commercial. You gotta pay. So yeah,
That's great analogy.
You can't put a number on it.
Yeah. And so how would you got young guys that want to pursue the rap career. They know it's a business, know it's an investment. They know they need a budget. What's your best advice for an artist to have a budget?
You know what? I guess it's on an individual basis, and then I don't want to discourage any artist that doesn't have a budget, because that may not be the way you make it. Yours may come from just your work ethic. You're constantly on it. You're constantly hitting them. I would say to any artist that's trying to keep working, and never fall for that thing. Say, okay, this is my hard song. I'm holding this one back for when I do so and so. No, throw the hard punch first. Throw your hardest stuff out there, and keep throwing hard stuff. Because what happens is, the more notoriety you get, the more people want to see you. Then you start to have a value, and before you know it, you're getting a little money, which is creating you a budget by proxy of working.
I love that.
Okay.
Let the work speak for itself.
Yeah, the work will speak for itself.
And it'll open doors for you in many circumstances.
Yeah.
So people see how hard you're
internet.
working.
You know, you got the internet now, because you may not have a budget, but you went viral. And you go viral every time you do something. Eventually, monetize your page, some money gonna come.
Right.
And now you got a budget.
So what's your take on social media marketing now that you're out? Now you kind of see how people are operating, the streaming services. You see how people are out here, like you said, going viral, using the TikToks, using the Instagram. How versed are you in social media?
I'm pretty decent, you know what I mean, as far as the posting. And, you know, I have a team, though. I have again, my son-in-law is very good at it. I have a team of, managers, that get in there and, tell me what to do, basically. And I'm pretty hands-on, so every day I got something coming across there, because that's the way of life now. So either whatever's not changing is disappearing, is evaporating, whether you want it to or not, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't socialize on social media. Like, I'm not trying to meet people or rekindle old friendships and stuff like that. I don't do that. But I do interact with my fans. Yeah, I do that.
Right.
As long as they keep it about the music and not try to delve into my personal life, I keep it there.
Now, you mentioned team, and there's a lot of, up-and-coming artists that they come out, they know they need a team,
right.
So they're always going to look around, okay, my homeboy, he good, but sometimes that can cause problems, or maybe the homie's not that educated when it comes to the music, and they all have great intentions, but
right.
What's your advice on how an artist should pick their team?
A team happens organically. Like, I could pick let me just speak. You got two people behind you. You have a cameraman right here, Drewski Drew, who was, I didn't pick him. He didn't pick me. He just was trying to do a podcast on me. And then, so after, a couple of times in there, he's like, man, I really ain't got that much money or whatever. I'm like, you know what? I like your resilience. I like your persistence, basically. He came over to my studio, and I was like, why don't you work with me? You know what I mean? I like the way you get out, you know, because he was on my line. And then the guy behind you is a guy I met in prison, one of my partners. You know what I mean? No music background. That's Mo. No music background, but street guy. Business background with a budget. Well, why don't you come in and learn this game? And so he's like, hey, you know what? I bet on you. I see what you're doing. I believe that we can probably get something up out of it. And so now that's just two more members to the team. So I would tell anybody, you can try to pick people, but they don't always work. I'm not saying don't pick them, but just let it happen sometime, you know. Sometimes, like you, I'm like, man, Jessica, she asked the right questions. If I was to ever really blow up and I had a network, hey, Jessica, you interested in coming? And then you'd be part of the team. Just something to happen, you know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally. So let's talk about the music. You've dropped several projects over the past few years. You said you did some from the inside.
Yeah.
So now you're out. You have the latest project that's out just now. Do you have a single off of that album?
Well, what we're doing now, we're about to drop. It's a project with Gunnameezy and I, which is one of my artists.
That's the one you did the slide through
right.
single.
That's the first one out.
I love that song.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Slide through. That video is out now, and it's called Snowfall. And so I'm the single that's about to come out now is called Hustler Steel, and it's a spinoff of a song I had before I went to prison that was kind of hot. And we went in there and brought it up to speed, 2024. And, you know, we got the video and all that for it.
Now, are you still working with the same producers? You got yourself a whole new lineup? How's that working in the studio?
A few, you know, again, 17 years brings about a change for a lot of people. So there are a few that's still doing it that, you know, I tap into with beats. And then there were a few that still do beats that they couldn't keep up with the change. So I've adopted some of these new producers, some of the hottest in the game, you know, and use their beats. You know, they send me beats, you know, from my artists and from myself, and we go with that. You know, whoever got a hot beat, I don't care if you got a name attached to it, if you got tags going all through it, doesn't matter. If it moves me, if I think it's special, I'm going with it.
Yeah. And what about moving around, touring? What's your status on hitting different cities and different venues?
We're doing that. Like we take our own budget sometimes, and what we'll do is try to create a demand in that market, right? And then the other artists that are listening, remember this. Sometimes you may not be getting booked because you don't have the motion like that. But what you can do is see where they are on to you a little bit, right? Say, for instance, these little, you know, Texas is so big, say East Texas, Marshall, Tyler. See if there's any motion, if you have any motion that way. If not, create some. Just focus right there. You know, buy a few, you know, commercial spots. Don't cost much or whatever. Talk about your stuff. Push your stuff, buy those ads on Instagram and Facebook and shoot it that way. And then go in and get with a venue and create your own show. You know, take your little money. Hey man, can I get the door? And they're gonna probably charge you $1,500, $2,000 for the venue. You have to pay that. Create your own show. You know, if 70 people showed up, you won. You know what I mean? If 700 people showed up, you're Yahtzee. So, you know.
I like it, and that's the type of information that I like grabbing from a lot of artists, especially artists like you that've been, you know, through in and out, so many different, you know, aspects. So I also want to talk about, you had almost a near-death experience, didn't you?
I did, yeah, a couple, but yeah, I got shot in the face in '91, and I was able to, after 6 months of being paralyzed on one side, you know, came all the way back, you know, so I just had this little pretty scar on my face, and that's it, you know, so again, you know, purpose. So
right.
God had a purpose for me, you know,
right.
So it may not be for me, but it may be for maybe somebody that's listening. So, you know, but it gave me a lot to talk about. I was in the streets pretty heavy, you know, and so he kept me shielded from a lot, and I was able to see those things, and by me having the talent to turn it into music, I'm able to connect with a lot of people's story, and they know I'm not playing.
Right.
Like, they know. That's the beauty of, for me, Jessica, is they can resume check me, and it is what it is. And I love that.
Yeah. So this new project you said is called Snowfall?
It is.
How'd you decide on the name?
Actually, Meezy picked that name out. You know, he's a creative kid, man. You know what I mean? He picked that name out because it's got the street edge. It's entertaining. It's talking about drugs and, you know, all the stuff that they talk about in music, but still with a message. So I thought it would really be fitting for the project we have, you know. It's tough.
All right, all right. So if any song, because I know we talked about the single off of that album, but any song in particular that you feel like somebody needs to go and listen to right now that would kind of maybe just kind of define you and where you're at right now? Like, is there one particular song on that album, or does it flow? Because I mean, a lot of times it's more like it's like a book, right? Like you start in. Okay, so is that the way you would listen to it?
Yeah, like when I do my solo projects, like you could probably go in and pinpoint one that to me I'd like, nah, this is me. But then there's one that I'm going to do for you today, even though the album flows. This one verse of mine kind of gives you a little insight to who I am.
And what's the name of that one?
The Reason.
The Reason.
Yeah, yeah.
And what about it, without giving away too much of, because I want people to listen to it.
Right.
But what about it do you feel is what encompasses
Right.
you?
I say that because a lot of things happen in these streets, a lot of things happen in life, and I'm just kind of saying, I'm still the reason, you know, good or bad, you know what I mean, without giving too much. Man, you got some real good questions. If a person ain't on their game, you gonna kill them. You on point.
I appreciate that.
Come to the team.
Man, here I come, Fort Worth.
That's what it is.
No, but this is one of the reasons I've dealt with a lot of artists over the years, especially with me doing radio, and there's a lot of artists that can't or not in the position to be in radio.
Right.
So it's a lot of things that I try to grab from each person, especially people with experience, who've seen it, who've been around some of the greats, and to be able to share that knowledge, because right now, people will watch these interviews, and I want to be able to feed into the next generation. And now that we have platforms and we have these reels and we have all of these types of social media, people can tap in to some of that advice that maybe we weren't privy to when we were young, when we were coming up.
Right.
And so I'm really grateful for you sharing everything that you have today, all the different game. Is there anything else about the game, if someone is listening right now, a piece of advice that you would give them?
Stay persistent, stay resilient, keep your work ethic on 10, never relax and say I've done enough, I'm just gonna kick back for a bit. Stay on it, because by the time, you'll know if you crack the cheat code when you have everything that you want, basically. You know, if it's a hit record, if it's a bunch of money or whatever it is, you'll have it. Relax then. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But in this game, man, I'm gonna tell you, I just keep it real. It's hard. It's hard, man. You have to work. You have to work. And every time you're out, every time you're doing a show, every time you're traveling, every time you got an interview, don't make it a good time. I'm not saying don't enjoy yourself, but don't indulge. Make it a job. You know, you don't always gotta have a girl. You ain't always gotta have a drink. You ain't always gotta smoke and get out. Stay focused and get the work done, and I promise you're gonna get there, if it's your purpose.
Nice. Yeah. What does Twisted Black want?
You know what? It's crazy, man. Twisted Black, right now, it's like I say, your purpose will change, right? And right now, I think what keeps me going is I want to defy the odds so bad. Like, I want to do what no one else has done. Nobody's left this game for 17 years and 2 months when it did a Fed bid, stood on it the right way, came home and got right back to where they were or more in this game, and I want to be the first one to do it. I'm gonna be the first one to do it. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Well, I do want people to stream your music, be able to, just even if they are familiar or not familiar, to be able to go and tap into where you're at. So they can find you on all social media platforms, streaming everything under Twisted Black.
The Twisted Black. T-H-E, Twisted Black. The Twisted Black, however you say it.
All right.
But when you put that in, it's going to pop up. on everything.
Okay. And where can they come out and check you out? What's the next venue? What's the next few
The next
stops?
show, I have one, I think Friday in Fort Worth. It's mainly Spanish groups because I have like a 40-50% Spanish fan base.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it too because they show love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's different.
Well, we've seen the Buns talking about it. We've seen a few artists that have come out and talked about how the Latino, Mexican community comes out and
Man.
supports the hip hop.
Man, like, hey, look, and guess what? I support them back. You know what I mean? Hey, you love me, I love you back. You know what I mean? So, and then I like to invite anybody that's in Marshall, Texas, November the 9th. Scarred for Life is bringing J-Dog, myself, Gunna Meezy, and a couple other artists to Club UJ's in Marshall, Texas. So any and everybody's welcome.